Video on Scratch programming, and let's look at what this amazing program can do. And as you see, there's a little cat here. I'm going to press the mouse key and I can move him anywhere, and this area is apparently called as the stage, and this cat here is called as the sprite, and that's our sprite 1. And as you see, the stage is just white in color, and it's just got the white background. And here this area is called as the script area, where you can have the code blocks in here. So say I just put this code block here just to show you, and when I press this move 10 steps, the cat moves forward 10 steps. But it's not, this is not all about it. I'm going to go in detail step by step. But before even you put the code into the script window, you must understand that there are several sections here. We are only looking at, when you're looking at the code blocks, you're only looking at the code blocks from the motion section. And again, when you go look into looks, apparently these are the different code blocks for the looks. And as you see, the sound and pen, what the pen section has to offer. So that's clear from pen section, and you can set the pen size, and you can say pen down for drawing, all of that. I'm not going to go in detail again all of that. I'm just going to go show you what this could do. There we go. The little cat is going around to draw something on the stage. I'm going to just stop it now, and I'm going to go file new. As you're looking at these codes, a code by itself doesn't make a huge meaning, but when they are used in combination, it does make it, it does give a meaningful response. So when I wanted the cat to draw this pattern here, apparently I have put the codes in to perform that particular action. So I'm going to say open, and each time you try to open a new project, it will ask a question: do I save the existing one? You could either say yes or no. And like if you want to keep the changes, you would just say yes. In this case, I'm just going to go and say no. Okay, so then again, the control feature of Scratch, and then these are all the code blocks that you have, and sensing. Most important one in this is the timer, use of timer, and the operators. I'm going to go through each one of those in detail. And you can also use the variables. You can make a variable and you can make a list, and you should understand, you will know what a list is and what a variable is. But I prefer not to go by each of those features or the sections. Instead, I will start building a meaningful program just by using combination of all of these. So as I go by, I would be using some of the codes from the control, some of the codes from sensing, some of the codes from the operators, some of the codes from sound, looks, and motion. So for which we need to have a context. So I'm going to show you how you go about using all of these codes just to make a simple game, the famous Flappy Bird game. So yeah, so I'll go get rid of I'll show you how to get a new costume or change this sprite. As you see here, there are 3 ways that you can do. Number 1 is get a surprise sprite. So it just gives you one sprite from somewhere. That's not what we wanted. I'm just gonna go delete it, and if you're not able to make up your mind, that's what it does. Or you can draw your own sprite which I'm not going to do at this stage, and choose a new sprite from file. Yes, I'll go and do that. As you see in the costumes, there are a number of sprites available in the animals, fantasy, ladies, people, things, transportation. I'm going to go into animals here. So as you see, these are the number of sprites that are available. So as we are making Flappy Bird, I would like to go with Parrot 1A. So that's my Parrot 1A. So I don't need this sprite anymore. I'm just going to go delete this. So that's my bird. Here I can go, and as you see, the scripts are here. You could go and start putting in your scripts, and your sprite starts behaving based on the scripts that you're going to be putting in. Say for example, I'm taking scripts from the motion section. If I say move, the bird keeps moving forward. I'm going to get rid of this one by deleting, right click and delete it, and put this bird back into place. And I'm going to go play with the costumes. So this is one of the sprites that we chose from the library. I'm going to import another one which says Parrot 1B. As you see, the wings are up and up in the air. Again, the wings are down here for Parrot 1B. I'll go Parrot 1B. If you are switching between your costumes, you see the bird has a flying effect. Now we need to achieve that through the scripts. Before that, I would go shrink my sprites. These are some of the tools that you can go and use if you want to duplicate your sprite. This is how you duplicate, but that's not what we wanted. So I'll select it and then I'll delete this. And you can cut it, you can delete it altogether, and you can grow the sprite. Right now I'm not in an intention to grow my sprite. Instead, I wanted to shrink my sprite and make it very small. So that's my bird there. And let us see, we haven't even put no codes there, so let us start playing with the codes now. So that's just the bird sitting there, and probably I'm going to make these videos in lots of 15 minutes. So this is the first lot of 15 minutes you're seeing. That's my bird, and here I go first using a code block from control. And as you see in control, there are several code blocks. I'm going to select forever. Let's see what forever does. As you see, forever is something that occurs without a continuously, without a break, and it happens throughout. These scripts are played until this red stop button is pressed, which would go and stop everything. So if I'm going to say move one step and press forever, and the bird keeps moving one step forever until it reaches the end of the stage. That's not what we want. I'm putting it back here in place again. Then I'm not moving it, I just wanted to change its costume. So if we wanted to do that, as you see, we are trying to change the appearance of the bird. So I would go into the looks section here, and then switch to costume B, right, or costume A. Right now it's B, or you can go to costume A, or simply you can say next costume, and when you go press forever, that is going to flap its wings forever. See, it's too quick to do it, and you can't even see it's flapping its wings. So again, to achieve that, as you see, there's a little bit of time interval between the wings flapping. So I'll stop this script and I will go into control section and bring a weight block and put it on the top of next costume. I'll say weight 0.2 seconds, and let's go and press this forever and see what's going to happen. Now see, you have this bird that is flapping its wings. So we can also add a slight gravity to this bird. Let's see how are we going to add the gravity. In order to actually understand that, we will have to go into the motion section. You've got all of these code blocks here. You need to understand first how your stage is divided. This entire stage is divided into X and Y coordinates. As you see in the middle, if I'm going to place this bird right in the middle, my X would be, I haven't placed it, so I'll just say go to 0x and 0y. When I did that, my bird is right in the middle. So if I wanted my bird right at the end, I would go here with 250 and see what happens. It's right at the end. The same thing for say negative 250, it's right at the left end. So the whole entire screen is divided, or the X is spread over from negative 250 to 0, 0 to positive 250. The same thing with Y. If I'm going to say here 150 and press this, my parrot is up there. I can even make it 180 and let's see what happens. So it's 180 is here. So 180 through to 0 to negative 180. Let's test it out. So negative 180. So here it is. So if you see, the coordinates here on the stage are X negative 250 to positive 250 and Y is negative 180 to positive 180, and the center of the screen, the X would be 0 and Y would be 0. This is very important to understand. These coordinates are pretty important to understand, because if you want to place your sprite at a particular location on the stage, you should really understand what the coordinates are going to be. So I'm going to continue the rest of it from the next video, and we're going to see where we're going to place this bird and how is it going to be flying. Yeah, welcome back. And see, we have this bird now flying at 0 and 0 coordinates. I'm going to put this bird here, and as you see, the X has changed to negative 195, and we will for now have the bird there. Okay, so we now have to make these moving obstacles, and let's see how we're going to do that, for which I'm going to actually paint it bright. So let us see how are we going to do that. We'll select the rectangle tool, and as you see, it fills in. So I would just go with, you could go with any of your colors. I'll just go simply with gray color, and that's too big. I'll just go with a simple size and something like that. Then again, allowing the bird to fly through it, and here I go, the obstacle. Okay, so there we go. I think it should fly. Alright, so we've just made our first obstacle there. Then we would copy and paste it, duplicate it. That became another sprite. This time I would leave it like that and edit it. I'll go and edit this sprite and say actually costumes sprite, and this is how it looks. The whole thing. I would copy it and put it down like that. Again, go with the rectangle. The color would be the same, and let us see how to go about this. Alright, just say OK. So there it is, our another sprite. Let's go and make a third one, and I would just go simply, this time again, I'll duplicate this, add my sprite file. I will put it somewhere here. So sprite 5, I would go and edit costume there, and this time I'll actually move it up, and I will actually move this one up a bit. Then I'm going to draw from there to there. Now Control Z, I would go again with the same color and draw from here. Yeah, so we got these three sprites, sprite 3, 4 and 5. Remember, the first sprite was our cat. I deleted the cat. Now we got the bird. We put code for the bird, and the code simply makes it flap its wings as it just keeps changing its costume. Now we would want these obstacles to be moving from this end of the screen to this end. In order to do that, what I would do is I'll just go first. Go to the first obstacle, that is your sprite 3, and we want this to be moving to left. Now remember, I said x is 0 here. As it goes, x would become 230 probably, negative 230 and positive 230. So as you're seeing this, the position of this sprite 3 is in negative 70. We want the x to reduce. Again, I would go into control section. I am going to take forever. What do I want to happen? I want the sprite 3 to move. As I said, move. We need to go into the motion section, and I would say change x by whatever the number. See, if you put in a positive number here, so x is going to increase and your sprites are going to move right. And if you're going to put a negative number, x is moving to right to left, and that's how they're going to travel. So I'm going to say here, change x by -1. When I say that, what happens is this sprite would come to a point where it would become, where the x would become -230 and can't go any further. So at that time we would want to begin from +230. So I would say here, I put a if condition. What is the if condition? So if the sprite is gonna go to negative 230, it should begin from positive 230. How would we check that? That's where you would be needing the operators. So you're comparing some value here. So if something is less or equal to or greater than. So what we were looking is if x value is less than negative 230, it should become positive 230. I would say here I would use the less than operator, and I would go again to motion. We are looking at the x value, so x position. I would say if x position is less than, I would simply say negative 220, set x position to positive 220. Let's see what would happen to this code. I'm going to press forever only for this sprite. Started moving, and as you see, it reached the point, and again look at the x on the top. Under sprite 3 it became 0, negative 50, negative 100. Oh yeah, it keeps going. So yeah, it goes up to 200 something, yeah, 220. As soon as it becomes negative 220, it's thrown to the far end of going to 250. Excellent. Now we're going to go and put the same code for the rest of the 3 obstacles, and it is also moving really very quickly. I'm going to reduce the speed by making it negative 0.5 so that it travels a bit slowly. That's a bit slower, the half the speed. So I'll put it back here. Now we have written a script only for this sprite here. We would want to have the same script for sprite 4 and sprite 5. But before that, how do we intend to start our game? Like, what key do you press to begin the game? You can either press the green flag, or when you press the enter key, it will have the same effect. So we need to tell our scripts when the green flag is pressed. The same thing you would do with the sprite 2, when the green flag is pressed. I'm not going to press the green flag now, and see, I already put the codes for my sprite 3. I have to go and do it for the sprite 4, sprite 5. Luckily, there's a very easy way to do it. If you intend the similar action to occur, happen with the other 2 sprites, you just will have to drag this codes and drop it in. So I just dragged it and dropped it into sprite 4. See, there we go. You got the codes there, readily programmed. I'm going to do the same for sprite 5. So I got the script for sprite 3, sprite 4, and sprite 5, and also for the bird. So when I press enter, now my bird will start flapping the wings, and these obstacles would start moving. But remember, I haven't set any action. What happens if the bird touches any of those obstacles? So let's go play this. I'm pressing. So it flaps its wings. All the 3 obstacles are moving slowly, and reaches the end and begins from the other side. Same thing happens to this obstacle here. It touches the end, starts from the other end, and same thing happens to the 3rd obstacle, which is my sprite 5. So this continues to happen throughout the game. But there are 2 things that I would like to do with my game. One is I would like to add the gravity to the bird, and as it keeps falling down, and you press a key to keep it flying. Number 2 is when it touches any of the obstacles, we need to have some kind of a scoring system, and also the life. So let's see how we're going to do that. I'm there, and now I will leave these. I can just simply leave it anywhere and see what happens. That's my sprite. I have put my sprite here, the sprite here, and the bird here. Okay, so if I have to move my bird up and down, as I said, y increases, look at the y here, y increases as you move it up and y decreases as you move it down. So if you want to have your bird flying up, you really have to have your bird moving, you really have to have the y going up, and we have to set an action with a key or a mouse click. So let's see when probably I would say, I will delete this one here, when the sprite 2 is clicked. Yes, when I click the bird, what happens? I will change the y, which means it's moving up, which means it's motion. So I go into motion, change y by positive 10. So if I say positive 10, it will move up 10 steps. If I say negative 10, it moves down by 10 pixels. So when I go click this, I clicked it and it's moving up. As I click it, it keeps moving up. So I'll just make it 15 so that you can see it clearly. It hops up. Okay, so I'll just leave the bird there. When the sprite 2 is clicked, change y by 15. Now we want continuously the gravity to play its role here. So in order to add the gravity, you said when the enter key is pressed forever, we want the y to be decreasing. Don't put too much of gravity. We will put a little bit of gravity, change y by, as you see, you got to put a negative number there, and I'll keep it very less. I'll say negative 0.5. Let's see how we're gonna play this. Now keeps falling down, and I really have to add more of gravity, so I'll just say 10 here. 10. I will actually continue the rest from in my other video. Right, continuing from my previous video, as you see here, I changed it to 10 in the past video. That's not actually adding the gravity. It needs to be negative 10 to add the gravity. Also, instead of my mouse, I started using the space bar. So when I press the space bar, the y for the bird would be changing by 15, so which means it's flying up. I'm just going to go press enter now and then show you what happens. So when I pressed enter, the bird's falling down, the gravity is working fine, and when I press the space bar, it goes up. It is moving up now, as you see. When I press the space bar, the bird moves up and moves up by negative 10 by 10 pixels, and when I leave the keyboard alone, and it just falls off due to gravity. But we still haven't set anything. What happens if the bird touches one of those or any of those obstacles? We're going to go and put those codes. But before doing that, as you see, the stage background is just white in color. I'm going to go now and set a background for the stage. So let's go. I'll show you how I'm going to go and set the background for the stage. Okay, to go and set the stage background, first of all, let's go to stage, click the stage, and as you see, there are a number of backgrounds that you can select. I'm going to say import, and from that I'm going to select outdoors. I'll double click that and I will select the boardwalk background. I'll select that and I will push OK, and you will see the background has changed now. So I'm going to put a couple of scripts for this background too. Firstly, I would like to go and add a script that when I go press the green flag to begin the game, this background should be playing a music. In order to do that, so when the green flag is clicked, or it will have the same effect of when you press the enter. When the green flag is clicked, I would like to have something to happen forever, and I just added this forever. But we need sounds, but there are no sounds here except this pop sound here. So I would go actually import a new sound, for which I would go for a music loops. I will go for music loop here, and I like this music here, so I'll just select hip hop and press OK. I don't need this pop sound anymore, so I will just delete that and I'll go back to the script. Now I want this sound to play forever throughout the game. In order to do that, I would go to sound. As you see, I brought the hip hop sound, so I will say play hip hop until done. So when I press enter, this bird would be flying continuously and falling down with a gravity of -10. Whenever I press the space bar, it would be flying up, and these sprites are going to be moving from right to left. All of these three sprites, sprite 3, 4 and 5, as you see, all of them have got the same scripts. Okay, and what happens next is, at the same time when I press the enter key, even this music loop would be played continuously forever. For the game, you also need to have the life meter and also the score, for which you need to create variables. So let's look at how we create the variables and how you use it within your game. The first variable that I would be creating here is a variable called as life, and then I would say OK, and at the beginning of the game I would set the life meter to 3. I will tell you why this needs to be done, but before that I will also go create another variable and make a variable called as score and press OK, and I've got another variable here named score. Okay, in order to make the life meter, what I'm going to do now is I am going to again go back to the animals folder. I would get another parrot 1a. This will be my sprite 6. I will go shrink this sprite and make it really smaller, and this is going to be used as a life meter for my game. I'm just going to make it really smaller than my main sprite. So I would just adjust these two variables. I can even place them down the bottom here, and I have my sprite number 6 here, and I am not going to go and duplicate this sprite now. First of all, I'm going to be putting in codes for this sprite. Once I put the codes for the sprite, later I would go and clone these sprites into 7 and 8, so that all of the 3 sprites would be having the code. I am going to now add the script for my life meter, for which I will go to control and I will select when the flag is clicked, and throughout the game it should keep checking, so I would go and add forever. So as you see, the life is 0, but however I'm going to set it to 3 because you will have 3 lives. So when the life becomes 1, when life becomes less than 1, this sprite here should be hidden. When life becomes less than 2, there will be another sprite here that will be hidden. You will understand it once I put all the 3 sprites, but for now I'm going to say if condition here, and I'm also going to use an else condition here. So I will use if and else here, and with the if and else I would be needing an operator. So I'm going to check something here. So I would choose the less than operator. I would go back to variables. I will select if life is less than 1, which means there's no life. At that time you go to looks and you should use hide. I would say if life is less than 1, which means it becomes 0 and your game stops, and all of these life meter, the birds in the life meter, should be hidden. Otherwise it should show up here. I'm also going to add one more script here to say that which of the lives are present. In order to do that, I just added the when flag is clicked, and I would go again forever. In this forever loop, I am going to add a if condition. If there's only 1 life left, what happens is this sprite here should rapidly change its color, telling the user that, hey, look, you got only 1 more life left and you got to be playing very carefully to save that life. So I again go to the operator. This time I'm going to use equal to symbol, and I'm going to say if I will use this variable called life, if life equals to 1, I would say go to looks and change the color effect by 25. So these are the codes that I would require for my sprite 6. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to duplicate this sprite, which means there will be sprite 7 created, and I will leave sprite 7 here. If I go to sprite 7, I will have same set of codes. Instead I should say here less than 2 and equal to 2. Then again I would go clone this sprite here and create another sprite, and that's my sprite 8. In my sprite 8 I would say if life is less than 3, it should be hidden, and if life is equal to 3, this is what should happen. So I got my life meter in sprite 6, 7 and 8. What happens at the end of the game when you lose all the 3 lives? There should be a message popping up on your stage saying that the game is over. In order to do that, I'm going to create a new sprite, and I'm going to use a text symbol. I'm going to use text tool, and I would take a decent size of 36 and then say here choose a nice color. I would go with red and then say game over. Okay, now I'll say okay, and this is my 9th sprite, for which I have to add a script. So what script needs to be added here? Again the same, we go back to control when the flag is clicked, and this is going to happen again throughout the game, looking for it forever. In this forever, what happens? In this forever loop, continuously something is checked if the game is over. So what needs to be checked? What needs to be checked is the life. So here we go into the control and then say if. Okay, and we use this operator equal to. If life becomes 0, which means the game is finished. So take life and put it here, and equals to 0, the game is finished. So when the game is finished, the game over should show up. That's why we go to the looks and then say show. And if you at least have 1 life, the beginning of the game you will have 3 life. I haven't set it. I would go and set it in our main sprite when I start scripting my sprite 2. But for now, let's think if you have at least more than 0, if you at least have 1 life, then the game is certainly not over. So I'll go duplicate this, I'll put it here and change. If life is greater than 0, it should say, it should hide. So this will be for your game over sprite. So we got everything covered. We got the stage which keeps continuously playing the hip hop sound. We got this sprite flying and in the air, and it's got a gravity there, and you added here 15. Whenever you press the space bar, the Y will be added with 15. It keeps flying up, and we put the scripts for these obstacles to move from right to the left, and then again respawn from the right. But we haven't programmed this sprite. What happens if this bird touches any of these obstacles? Or what happens, how is the scoring done? So we're going to look at those scripts now. Okay, here I added set life to 3. I haven't pressed the enter key, that's why it's still showing 0, but once I press the enter key, it will definitely start showing 3. So I have set the life to 3, and each time the game begins, the score should be set to 0. So I will go here, I will say set, and I'll say score to 0, and forever this is going to start. Now comes the real part. What happens if this bird is going to touch one of these obstacles? So we need to go put a if condition there, so for which we go to the control, and I would take a if condition and attach it at the bottom here, and the bird is going to sense any of these colors. So we need to be going into the sensing, and I would say if touching color. So I would go if touching what color. If touching, as you see, the ink filler comes up, that color there. If touching that color, it has to perform an action. It's going to do bunch of things when it is going to touch the gray color of these obstacles or the pipes. We first want the bird to return back here. We want the pipes or the obstacles to return back to the original position for the player to begin the game again. For which, so continuing from my previous video, so if this bird is going to touch this color, we would want something to be broadcasted to all of this sprite should listen to what this bird has to say, for which I'm going to say broadcast, and I will say new and make a reset. So I would simply say reset here. This reset will be used by sprite 3, sprite 4 and sprite 5, but for now I just said broadcast reset. Remember how we added sounds here, the hip hop music here. We need that music to stop here because I would want to play some other sound when the bird touches this gray color. So for again I would go into sounds and I will say stop all sounds. So that will stop the hip hop music in the stage, and I would use a new sound for which I will say import, and this time not music loops certainly. I would go into electronic and I would use laser 1. So that's this noise that it makes. I will select laser 1. I will go back to scripts. So it stops all the sounds and I just imported the laser 1 sound. So when this bird touches this gray color, it should make a laser sound. Just to let the user know that the player know that the level or that particular bird has died, and I would play this music until done. Play sound laser 1 until done. So all that is good. So when it touches, it broadcasts saying reset, it stops all the sounds, it plays the reset, but it never changed the life. As you said at the beginning, the life is set to 3, but when it has touched the gray color, one of the birds is going to die. So we got to change this life by -1. So we will go here, change life by, not there, under here, we're going to put -1. So you just lost 1 life, and the bird should return back from where it started. So we would say go to, and we'll put here, this is where it started from, -19198, that is your X, and it starts right in the middle of the screen when it comes to Y. So we can simply say this Y is 0. And once the laser has played, and once it is reset, once the life has changed, you will again have to resume back with the game. In order to resume back with the game, we would want this hip-hop music to be played. In order to do that, we would say again use a broadcast from here. This time we're going to create a new broadcast saying we need the sound back. So I would say sound and then push OK. So it broadcasts something called as sound. What happens on the stage? When it receives sound, what happens on the stage is, we have to go figure that out now. On the stage, what happens is, when I receive sound, when I receive sound, again, we're going to clone this one, duplicate, and put it underneath. This is going to continue to play. Let's go back to now the sprite 2, which is our main sprite, and it keeps, as it keeps flying, and all of these actions are carried out. But when the life becomes less than 1, which means life 3 has gone, 2 has gone, and even 1 has gone, life, if the life becomes 0, which means if I would say here life is less than 1, so I would go grab this life and put here, and I would say if it is less than 1, which means your game should stop, for which we would go here and say broadcast, not reset again, we're going to create a new one, and then we will call it stop, and then it's going to stop everything. And there's one more thing that we would like to add here, stop script. It has to stop script here. So that is with this particular sprite. We're done pretty much with this sprite. I'm going to set actions to what happens when reset is broadcasted, and what happens when, we already seen what happens when sound is broadcasted, it goes back here. When I receive sound, play sound hip hop. But when this sprite receives, when I receive reset, so this sprite 3 should be reset to something. We want to go to x equals to 25 for this sprite. Actually, we'll start off with sprite 3 and we'll see how we travel. Yes, we would say here we'll go both for go to x and y, what we will do here is go to x is equals to 25 and y should be equals to 0, and when I receive stop, all of the scripts should be stopped. So stop all, that's what I'm going to say. We don't need to use it in any other script. If you used it in any other sprite, if you used it in one sprite, that's enough. It will go and stop the scripts in all the sprites. So I will again copy this. When I receive reset, I will put it into sprite 4 and sprite 5. I'll go back here to sprite 4. Let's see what is going to happen here. See the X, the sprite 4 will go again sit on the X, on the sprite 3. So we got to change this X. Let us see what are we going to change it to. Let us change it to around the same location, actually 117, and I will say 117 and 0. Then again sprite 5, what I would do is sprite 5, what I would do is I would go and change it to 175 and 0. So it starts somewhere from here and it becomes 0. So it keeps going on like that. Then I think we're done pretty much with all of the programming. Now your game is ready to run. I will go play this game by pressing this green flag and then see how this game is going to behave. So to be able to add the score, what we need to do here is we just have to go change the score by 50. I will go do that now. Change not the live but the score by 50. I'll have to do the same for this one here. Actually, I'll stop this code. I'll put it back here. I'll duplicate this and I'll leave it here. I'll put it in sprite 4 and sprite 5 and I'll delete here. Sprite 4, got this one, I'll put it underneath here and I'll go sprite 5. I will put it here. Now our game is done. I'll go press enter